Hello, welcome to The Facts as we know them, our periodic look at the news and what it might or might not mean. Brian Lambert's the regular host, but I think he's out handling the Save the Siberian Tiger campaign, or checking with his parole officer, so he's not around tonight. Eric Eskel is my name from WCCO Radio. I'm the moderator, and hope you'll stay with us for about a half an hour. We kick around some topics with our panel of guest experts, including David Brauer, Simon editor at Channel 11, WTCN Television. The lovely and talented David Carr from the Twin Cities Reader, dressed to kill tonight.
Thank you.
Dane Smith from the St. Paul Pioneer Press. So last time Dane was with us, he was simply a reporter at City Hall. Now he's a Washington reporter. So he's a Washington correspondent now for the St. Paul paper.
It's amazing what a little television exposure will do for a very small talent.
We bumped him up the ladder. Well, let's talk a little bit about politics. I think that may dominate the program tonight, particularly native son Walter Mondale, who,
Let's disown him.
As we tape the program, is hanging by a thread. Fellas, what do you think? David, let me start with you and see, Mr. Carr, what do you think? Mondale dead or not?
Well, last week, before you made your turkey of a prediction, we did have some very trenchant analysis, as you'll recall. Both you and I were in Iowa as representatives of the Facts as we know them National Affairs Desk. Mm-hmm. And we both noticed that the support for Mondale was quite shallow.
Yeah.
How do you say it? Inevitability?
The inevitability factor.
Thank you very much. That's radio for you, folks. That thing that Eric discussed was the only thing Mondale had going for him. Mm-hmm. And once people found out that that wasn't true, anybody but Mondale, and his name happened to be Gary Hart, mm-hmm. took off. Yeah. The question, of course, for the rest of our distinguished panelists is whether Gary Hart does indeed have the big mole. And one other question we might consider answering is just exactly what new means.
Well, he's got the big mo. I don't think there's any question about that. But I think as he gets more scrutiny now, people wonder what the new ideas are. But I don't think that really matters.
Yeah.
I was with Hunter Thompson, gonzo journalist in Chicago last week. And Thompson said that why he likes Hart so much.
How is Hunter?
Hunter was wild. He was smoking a joint from a cigarette holder.
No.
And had a bottle of Chivas Regal.
A journalist?
Yeah. He was wild, but he liked Hart. Of course, he was with Hart quite a bit in the '72 campaign when Hart was McGovern's campaign director. But Thompson said that the reason he liked Hart was that it was just an aura of possibility and an aura of something new. And it wasn't necessary that it had to be something specifically new. It was just that Hart was open to new ideas.
That's not so bad. That may be all that JFK ever really had.
Yeah.
There wasn't much substance there.
Yeah.
And then everybody felt good about it. What the heck? I'll go with him.
Well, Mr. Brauer, why did Mondale take such a dive? I mean, the message seems pretty strong. He seems like a classic Democrat.
So it's sort of the thin crust pizza idea of politics. It looks real good.
I want to hear this.
It was launched here.
It looks real good on the top, and once you bite into it, you realize it's just not that substantial.
Good.
You know?
Yes.
The thing about Hart is that he's the JFK that nobody ever had right now. All the college kids apparently are getting excited over him. I think once he gets more examination, things will cool off a bit for him, but after Super Tuesday, who knows?
Hart will win in Massachusetts.
I'd agree.
Hart could win in Florida.
Oh my gosh.
Glenn and Jackson and Mondale and Hart could all kind of in Mississippi and Alabama and Georgia. There's such a mishmash there. I don't know how it's going to shake out, but I do think that the media momentum that Hart generates really makes Mondale's organization really less of a factor, don't you think?
And how about that media momentum? Have you had about enough of this stuff? Did you notice that that David Broder's piece in the Tuesday morning paper seized on a 900 vote margin, less than some single wards in Minneapolis,
right,
as the symbol of the end of Walter Mondale?
Do you know what I think it means?
Do you think
we're going to
sicken people out there or what?
I think it means that the boys on the bus are very definitely bored.
Yeah, maybe.
That they've been driving along, following this thing, from step one, and there was very little in the way of excitement. And as soon as people saw a crack, boy, they were just going to leverage the heck out of it and get as much as they could. Now everybody's fired up about it. I think one point we need to mention about press coverage is that native son Walter Mondale has been resurrected on the pages of the Minneapolis Star and Tribune again and again. Today,
Finley Lewis had a story. I hope you saw it.
Yes, today the headline...
I think the word used was electrifying, an electrifying speech.
Yeah,
Let me talk about my former employer here just a minute. Are you talking about the headline that said, Mondale, even with Reagan and Pohl?
Yeah.
And then you look a little closer, and it's Minnesota poll.
Yeah, Minnesota poll. But even under that, there was this Finley Lewis story. Mondale's official sanctioned biographer, and I've never met Mr. Lewis, and he's a fine journalist, and I have no axe to grind against him. At the same
let's
time,
libel him anyway,
but one
Eric.
thing seems clear, that that Mr. Lewis seems to be trying with all his might to keep Mondale in the game, talking about this electrifying speech and how the cadence was new and different and improved, and he's going back to some of the great speeches that Mondale's made in the past, and he's made some. But he also, at the last paragraph of the story, said, well, in Tampa when he made the speech, no reporters were there, everybody had gone to bed, and it didn't make any news coverage. And the next night he gave the same speech, and it was flat as a pancake.
Walter didn't get the press coverage. Walter was screwed by the media, I think, was the bottom line.
Well, I don't know. It seemed... Let's talk about what's going to happen.
Fritz.
Let's hear what happens with Mondale. Here's where I'm going to make some startling comments.
Startling.
I think Hart...
Could we review last week's?
Yeah,
just
I
before you get in?
picked John Glenn second in New Hampshire, and I was a couple weeks
Close.
Yes. Who did you pick first, Eric?
I remember direct quote.
Native son,
being
Walter
the only person in the real print media here.
Yeah.
I think he
Pardon
said.
me, sir.
What did I say?
I think he said something like, Mondale wins big.
Oh, I don't think I said
Yes,
that.
I think
think
he
I
said
didn't
something.
say that.
And then he went on to, and then the rest
Well,
of it
we'll
was.
check
Let's have some of that tremendous viewer mail to
Okay. Okay, let me try again. I think it's possible in Minnesota on March 20th for the combination of Hart and uncommitted to keep Mondale under 50%.
Ooh.
30% are going to go pro-life uncommitted. If Hart can get 20, 21, 22% out of Minnesota, and I think he can hold Mondale under 50% in Minnesota. And
What
wouldn't
an
that be a...
embarrassment.
Are we talking a Hart
We'd
appearance in
actually
the
have
state
some work
sometime
to do.
before the
I
primary?
think we are. I think they're trying to
Or
get...
the
Jesse
caucuses?
Jackson will be in the 17th, and I think the Hart people are hoping to get him in maybe the 18th or the 19th.
It would be a smart move. Illinois is the same day, and you're talking over 200 delegates between those two states.
I was talking to somebody last night who says that in the northern Minnesota, Mondale has just disappeared. I know I've covered Duluth and Iron Range politics for many years. Mondale's not popular up there. They were looking for anybody. And Hart's people have sent battalions now to Duluth, the Iron Range, and Bemidji.
What a good idea.
Because they've got, there's no Mondale sentiment up there. It's not Humphrey.
They could bury him.
The Wine and Cheesers in
That
the
could
5th
really take the air out of him. But
And
before
in
we
the
get too
third
excited with
Are going
the
to turn out for Joan Grow anyway.
and the 6th. I know we have to worry about Super Tuesday first.
Right. Before we get too excited about that prospect, we have to remember Escala's record so far.
It's bad. It's bad. But I do have the courage to come out with these when we meet. What do you think about that? I think also in Wisconsin, I think it's big heart.
Very pot.
Big heart there.
Didn't John Anderson do real well?
I did okay. Jerry Brown didn't do so well.
Well, does Gary Hart feed a little bit off the John Anderson phenomenon?
Wisconsin?
Is
Yeah,
he
sure,
de facto
sure.
cutting out a third
Sure, the
party?
wine and cheese brie liberals that
Yeah.
come to caucuses are the kind of people that vote for Gary Hart. Those are the guys.
Now, the real delegates in Minnesota aren't
Wisconsin-
selected until the congressional district conventions in, I think, April and May.
I don't think Wisconsin might be a pleasant surprise for Mondale.
You think so? Does
with-
he have
with-
that
they have
Humphrey
a-
cousin, country cousin
They
thing?
have a strong traditional Democrat, older Democrat, labor
It's
force there.
It's
Tony
very
Earl-
much old smokestack industry state.
Well, and Tony Earl, the governor there, is supporting Mondale big.
Well,
and
of
he's
course,
popular.
It doesn't
that
have
made a
done
big
him any
difference
good
in Maine,
anywhere
as we
else.
saw.
Yeah.
He's popular.
Yeah.
Well, Jimmy Carter was in town, the former president, and he was saying that both Hart and Mondale were good guys.
Oh.
We need unity, fellas, so I like Mondale. Mondale's going to be down on Saturday at the farm in
Jimmy
Plains.
really took off the gloves. Huh?
I think there will be unity too when
Yeah.
it's all over.
Yeah.
No question.
I think they
there's
need a-
there's little
They don't like
indication
Reagan.
of sharp division.
They don't
here.
like Reagan so
they
much
really
that maybe
don't.
that will.
Yeah.
I think Reagan can do more for the Democratic Party as far as unity than anybody on their ticket ever could. He is. You can invoke him over and over and over again. He's a specter and his image is very solidified. Unfortunately, it seems a majority of America seems to like and appreciate that image.
Yeah. I was surprised by how well Carter.
Did you say unfortunately?
I think that snuck in there.
Yeah. Ooh. I was surprised how well Carter did at that speech. Warm, affectionate reception, 2 standing
Was
ovations.
he attacked by any rabbits that you noticed? or-
No. 200 people, 200 students sitting in a cold day out there by Northrop Auditorium, watching him get in and out of his car. Big, warm applause, genuine feeling for the guy. And the President McGraw, the
He
university.
never lied to us.
No, I mean, I was amazed because I thought Carter was just Mr. Has-Been, and Mondale could do well to bring him into the state to maybe once it becomes if it becomes tight, I'd bring Carter back and campaign for him. Although Carter says he's not going to.
Maybe just that it's the biggest celebrity in Minnesota since Frank Sinatra
Maybe so.
canceled
Who
his
stiffed.
his concert.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the Senate race because that dovetails with politics. Grow and Oberstar battling, I think, in the main for the March 20th caucuses. You were with Secretary of State Joan Grow yesterday. How, as we tape this, how was she?
You spend any amount of time with just one politician, one-on-one, you're bound to get tired. Joan Grow, it was to a factor of 5. She.
Wait a minute, you were really tired of her? Is this what you were trying to say?
Not tired of her. I was
With
physically
tired.
Tired.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Because Joan has what's known in the business as boundless energy. DJ Leary today described her as an A #1 candidate. She is relentless. There's nobody that can work a room faster than Joan Grow. She's been on the chicken circuit for 10, 12 years now. She's been to every function. She's given to all the right people. And
kind of like Walter Mondale. Huh?
Kind of a Walter Mondale, or we could say Warren Spanis. We might wonder if she does indeed have what it takes underneath. She has organization. She's raised more money, laying to rest. She's raised more money than any other candidate in the race, with the exception of the Republican incumbent, which puts to rest, at least in Minnesota for the time being, the old saw that women cannot raise money and therefore cannot put
Has she raised much more money than Oberstar?
I think you're about to embarrass me, but
No,
do you know?
Not much more.
Some more.
Boschwitz has outspent all of them.
Yeah, Boschwitz is going to have 5 to 7 million and more if he wants it and needs it.
And as I recall, both of them were similar.
But her, she is rallying the women, and that seems to be one of her issues. That it's time for a woman to be in the Senate. The Judy Goldsmith was in from Now saying that just this week. And the polls that I read from both Boschwitz and I think the Oberstar poll indicate, and maybe Joan showed this too, I don't know, indicate that, you know, being a woman, women go for Boschwitz in about equal proportion as they do for Oberstar or Grow. It just didn't, in the takeouts on women, it didn't seem like 90% of the women were rallying to Joan Grow.
Well, one dynamic that I think, not to go back too much, but I think we should talk a little bit about what Walter Mondale's disintegration means to our Senate race. I think it does mean something. The Grow people are excited about it. And I don't know if it's just because of they have been working their butt off for Fritz.
Yeah, well, Mary Monahan says it's 300,000 extra DFL voters in November, having Mondale at the top.
Yeah,
that seems excessive to me. What do you think? I don't. Maybe.
Well, I don't know. It depends on if you believe the Minnesota poll or not.
Yeah.
Well, that's in November. But what about the battle for the DFL nomination with Oberstar?
Labor has been. Labor was given a big thrashing here this week or last week in a meeting that David Rowe attended, and a lot of the COPE people came in and were just tongue lashing the
COPE. Meaning
Committee on Political Education, the political arm of AFL-CIO, very much lashing the Minnesota labor leaders that we got to do more. Mondale's people have been calling around to some of the Senate campaigns saying we haven't been doing much in Minnesota because we've been out in New Hampshire and Maine and Vermont and we're in the South, and they have not been doing much organizing for the caucuses for Mondale here. I think some of the Senate Grow, I'm sure, is going to be having to carry Mondale piggyback, and Oberstar too, who's supporting Mondale as well. I think they're going to have to ride piggyback on the good Senate candidate organizations because, frankly, the Mondale people have pretty much taken Minnesota for granted. The Minnesota Mondales have been in Iowa and in New England, and that's a real problem. I think Fritz could get burned in Minnesota.
It's an absolutely no-lose prospect.
Yes, it is. For Hart to come in and make a big effort.
Absolutely, no matter how well he does.
I think one indication of how the complexion of Minnesota presidential politics is changing is a lot of Joan's rhetoric yesterday started with new
ideas.
Oh my gosh, the old industrial base, the new industrial base, and we've got to, and on and on.
Madison Avenue knows that is simply the best word to use to sell anything.
New and improved.
New.
Yeah.
Well, we put it in the headlines a lot, don't we?
Well, abortion. She's starting to talk about it in her speeches a little bit.
Yep.
And I know that the other candidates are a little nervous about that because that's an issue that, again, is going to dominate DFL politics, as it always does. And there's been kind of an unwritten rule about both pro-choice and pro-life. Let's just not talk about it. Am I wrong here?
It's cooled down the last few years.
I don't think it has. It's going to be bigger. It's back and bigger than ever this year. And is candidate Grow talking about abortion?
No,
has she broken that promise?
No.
Or is she not?
She is. She didn't bring it up independently, and she didn't seem that comfortable discussing it. What she was interested in talking about was that ERA and abortion are two separate issues, and that she's tired of people trying to push the two together, therefore dooming both.
She got the ADA endorsement, I think, based on
Yes.
largely on the abortion issue, right?
As a matter of fact.
Yeah. So that helped her. Well, maybe we'll come back to politics if we have some time at the end, but maybe we should move on to Mr. Smith. And before he goes to Washington, let's ask him about, do you like it? Let me ask him about, now what is happening? Mayor Latimer and Council President Tedesco are in it over something called the Metropolitan Airports
I
Commission.
thought we were all through with politics.
We might come back to it.
Oh, are we back already?
I think we are.
Okay.
It was a quick trip. Dave?
Way down at the local level, Mayor George
That's where
Latimer.
you used to work.
That's right.
Right.
Okay. Look for him on David Brinkley, okay, next
Okay.
time.
Let him speak, Mr. Carr.
Oh,
He
I'm
stuck
sorry.
it to, yeah, really. He stuck it to Tedesco recently. The conflict goes back, I think, 6 or 8 years. I don't think it's any secret that Latimer has been mad at Tedesco for a number of things. Going back to the Hubert H. Humphrey Job Corps Center, didn't like Tedesco's maneuverings on that. He didn't like the fact that Tedesco sued him some years ago involving the city's getting out of the garbage business. The things begin to pile up, and lately Latimer tried to get a whole new planning commission through. Tedesco apparently promised him a vote on a particular member and then reneged on it, didn't come through with his promise, and Latimer just quite unceremoniously dumped him from the Metropolitan Airports Commission post.
Not George.
George,
That's
George played tough.
Uncharacteristic for the mayor?
I think so. There might be some people who would argue with that,
Yeah.
but for Latimer, highly unusual. In fact, a lot of his fellow DFLers have urged him to use his incredible popularity and his general strength in the St. Paul municipal government to better advantage.
You have
There are
such
to
certain
get some
things he
things
can't
done.
do over
You
there,
have such
though.
a quintessential strong mayor system there. Do the council members in general chafe over what Latimer, the
Yes,
publicity and the power Latimer seems to have?
Yes, they're always a little bit perturbed at his ascendance and his total domination of the scene. And it's always a little source of friction. They've always, even when the council was all DFL, all in his party. Right now, I would have to say that the council, although it's more DFLers than Republicans, is an anti-Latimer council in many respects. But they've always chafed under his aura.
Yeah.
He overshadows all of them. On occasions, Tedesco has complained about the fact that Latimer always seems to get the credit when anything goes right, and the blame is parceled out individually and equally on the council when things go wrong.
It's
How
hard
do you
to think.
feel about that?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you like to know?
It's hard to
I would
think
like our viewers to know.
But isn't it hard to think of a mayor in the country, and I don't know every mayor, don't claim to, but I would be hard-pressed to think that a mayor anywhere in the country is riding as hot as what Latimer is riding. He seems to be just cooking everywhere.
Right.
Where's it going to take
He's.
him?
I'm not sure it's going to take him anywhere. He said I don't know how many times that he doesn't have the fire in the belly
Yeah.
to go any farther. Particularly for the U.S. Senate, the one that Dayton and Durberger went at last time. It's hard to say. Everybody assumes that he's most interested in the governor's job. That, of course, is up in 86.
Right.
By which time Perpich will be ambassador to Austria under the Mondale administration.
And you'll be on the David Brinkley show.
I'm not sure he'll do that, though.
I bet he could take on Bruce Vento and win.
Occasionally he jokes about just
You're right.
getting out of office and getting rich, which I think he could do.
He could kill Vento in the fourth, couldn't he?
Why would he want to do that?
Yeah.
I don't know why.
He
would
might
the
want
mayor
the
wanna do it?
job.
I don't know why, but
I
I
don't
think
think-
Vento is, popular.
Why
but-
would you take the power loss from
Latimer
mayor
wouldn't
to
want to be
representative?
he wouldn't want to be a congressman. He likes to do things, like to see the results of his decisions, and he doesn't like to legislate and obfuscate and deliberate.
Well, all right. We'll and Uncle Vic, when you come into the council chambers, Mr. Tedesco, he offers
Still
you to come up.
doffs his,
Yeah, you come up to my office. I'll give you a calendar and a letter opener, and he's one of the really a nice fellow. He's been a
Sure.
charitable worker for a long time, and I'm as a Minneapolitan, and I'm sorry to see these two fellows feuding. I think that's too bad. I mean that seriously.
I
That's a
don't.
shame.
I think this will pass.
Okay.
This too shall pass.
Okay, they're going to blow up the Northwest Bank building in downtown Minneapolis soon. It's been a big mystery, but I know they've sent out some invitations to VIPs, Mr. Brauer. to come have breakfast at the AmFac and watch a building go down.
To use another analogy, it's like a Minnesota Twins baseball game. All the guys are up there in the boxes, and they know what's going on, and they're getting the big, expensive spreads, and they expect all the other schlubs to be down on the street trying to figure out when it's going to be. It's probably the worst kept secret among the downtown people when this thing's going down.
When is it going to be?
It's going to be on Sunday. You're seeing the show on
Friday night.
Friday night. It's going to be Sunday,
March 11th.
March 11th, sometime between 8 a.m. and 11 a.m. Chief Bruciani of the Minneapolis Police Department assures me that he has tight crowd control and he will be able to take care of anybody that infiltrates the defense perimeter of the two-block area surrounding the Norway. He says the whole force is going to be out there. The man is just, he's on it. He had no compunctions about confirming the information as to what time it was going to be. We at Channel 11 announced it on Wednesday, and there is a meeting tomorrow of all the people that are involved in planning this thing on a media level, and I'm sure we're going to get lots of grief about it.
Why is it such a big deal? First of all, why is it? Do we have a bunch of pyromaniacs that like to watch? And secondly, who cares if people know when it is?
Well,
isn't it fun to watch?
It's generated a lot of interest. First of all, because it's apparently the third largest building of this type ever to be imploded in the United States.
We've had the Andrews and the Radisson go down
just recently, right? And of course, you print people and of course radio wouldn't probably have a good understanding of this, but it's real pretty TV.
It's good sound too. I hold the mic out there and the big.
Absolutely.
That really sounds nice. So
absolutely.
We'll be out there with a tape recorder.
The one question I have, I guess, is bon vivant that you are, David. I wonder what would be an appropriate wine to bring to.
Well, you know, the Norwest building is sort of a tan building, and I think that would probably come closest to being white. So I would probably recommend.
Who's on the guest list?
Something kind of oaky, or what about bubbles?
I think champagne is.
Who's on the guest list to watch? And is it what in the AmFac watching? Is that what's going to happen?
I understand.
Didn't you get invited, Eric?
Oh, I didn't get invited to Bose's thing, nor to this.
Several of the bank's big shots are going to be on the 22nd floor of the AmFac Hotel watching this sucker come down.
And what's going to go there?
Pardon me?
What's going to go in the hole? What are they building there?
Well, they're allegedly going to be building another office complex in the 100% corner of downtown Minneapolis, bigger than the World Trade Center in St. Paul.
It's Oxford and Norwest
really?
together.
Oxford and Norwest.
Bigger than the IDS.
Rumor has it it's going to be prettier than the City Center and bigger than the IDS. They're talking about a 65-story tower designed by Caesar Pelli, who is supposed to be a hotshot architect from
But does he
east.
know the prairie?
12% office vacancy rates in both cities.
Don't put Minneapolis in the same bed St. Paul, man.
Somebody at the state high school hockey tournament today, a Minneapolis writer, called St. Paul East Berlin. No, I don't know, and I blanched at that. I blanched at that.
St. Paul's on a roll. St. Paul's.
I think St. Paul's cooking too.
Our feelings are hurt. That's why we're.
Let's talk about the legislature. Mr. Kessler, Pat Kessler, our usual contributor from the State House, is earning some real money somewhere tonight at the legislature. So, David Carr, you have been doing the